Peace, y'all. Before we get started, I felt compelled to remind everyone to stay safe and stay abreast of all the atrocities happening around the world. The people of Palestine, Tigray, Congo, Sudan, Haiti, and countless other territories are currently fighting for their rights and their lives. And if you're choosing to take action, please take every precaution you can. Stay hydrated, stay in groups, cover your face, and please, more than anything, don't lose hope. I've been leaving links to organizations and resources at the bottom of every episode description for a good minute, so please go check those out for places to donate and to find ways to take action today. We're not free until all oppressed people in the States and abroad are free. Much love, stay strong, and stay dangerous. What's good, y'all? My name is Dylan Green, and this is Real Notes, a space dedicated to blurring the cultural and artistic lines between rap and film. I'm here to chop it up with everyone from rappers and producers to journalists and video directors about their relationship to movies and how, if at all, film inspires their craft. My guest this week is New Orleans via Brooklyn rapper Cavalier. We spoke about the French film Baise-moi, Monkey Man, The Last Dragon, DVD collections, the filmography of Spike Lee, Fresh, 90s urban dramas, growing up as a first-generation Caribbean American, moving from New York to New Orleans, the art of crafting albums, his come up with Quelle Chris, and the creative process behind his latest project, Different Type Time, out now via Backwoodz Studioz. Come fuck with us.
I don't even use the word busy, bro, because some shit that somebody told me in Japan about like the etymology of busy, at least in their language. And ever since then, so if I can't do something, I'll tell someone like, I don't have room for it, but I'll never tell somebody I'm too busy for them or some shit like that. You know what I mean? Right. So I always try to make an effort to do what I say I'm gonna do. And we had spoke earlier about it before the album even came out. And I was appreciative that you had interest in it back then. So that's why I followed up.
Yeah, of course, bro. Yeah, no, like and like once again, I'm gonna say this later. Just so you know, I'm recording now, but like I've listened to this album like 4 times.
Oh, wow.
It's yeah, this special, bro.
I'm glad to hear that, man. I'm glad to hear that, especially from ears like yours, man. I know it's real, so I appreciate that for real, yo.
Nah, man. Yeah, it's yeah, no, let me not even bullshit anymore. I'm gonna just do this drop and then we can just get right into it. It's hella cash. We're not about to do anything too crazy. What's cracking, everybody? Welcome back to Real Notes. The weather doesn't know what it's trying to do right now. It was 80 degrees. It was 80 degrees in Jersey 2 days ago, and it's 47 overcast and raining right now. But we're smoothied and egged up and worked out, and everything's feeling amazing. My name's Dylan Green, CineMasai. Got a lot of names, do a lot of shit outside, inside, all sides, and I'm with somebody who I don't even know how you go to all the places you go in all the time that you do, bro. I don't understand how my guest today does what he does, but he does it, and he's been doing it for a good long minute. We're coming up on something really special that, like, when y'all hear this, it'll already have been out for probably about a week and a half, but I'm reporting live from the past. We're a day out from this guy's Backwoodz debut, but he's obviously been moving and shaking since way before Backwoodz came in the picture. Man's a Brooklyn raised rapper, chief, beeper owner. This nigga's got a beeper, bro. Like a real live beeper in 2024.
Facts.
which is beautiful to me. Currently beaming in from the future and the past at the same time. It's fucking Cavalier. We got Cavalier in the building.
Peace, man. Thank you, Dylan. Appreciate you, yo.
Nah, of course, man. Like, by the time y'all hear this, Different Type Time will be out, and y'all will be as excited and freaked out about it as I am. But like, oof, y'all are in for a treat, man. But yeah, like I was telling you off camera, Cav, thank you so much for thank you for your interest. And we met for the first time this past summer in Times Square when y'all did the thing at the Backwoodz thing. But I've been a fan, I've been a fan and I've been listening since way before that. Like it's been nice to see you really. It's just nice to see you get into a point where people are just like, I'm gonna mention it later, but this feels like a reintroduction in a cool way. So, but yeah, just like, thank you so much for being here. It's an honor, honestly.
Thank you, brother. Really.
Yeah, no, definitely. But like I'm gonna ask you the first question that I ask everybody who comes on here, which is what's the last movie or TV show you watched that you had a strong opinion about?
Oh, that's damn. Man, I watch so much dumb shit, man.
Dumb shit's cool, bro.
Yeah, I'm trying to think like what I've actually had the bandwidth to really process. I've been watching Quelle made me remember that Invincible dropped new episodes, the animated series Invincible.
Yeah, so okay.
That's what I've been recently watching. I don't know if I would say I have strong feelings about it. I can, man. Oh, you know what? What's that movie called? I seen a movie recently that was really wild. And it's not a new movie at all. What's that movie called, man? It's called Baise-moi. It's called Baise-moi, which is like fuck me in French. And it's an awful, such a fucking dark movie, man. I asked one of my dear friends, shout out Selena, yo, Empress of 10,000 Years, Quotable Organics. I was talking to her, and I needed a movie recommendation, and she recommended that, and it's a wild fucking ride. So I guess that's the last movie I saw that I had any feelings about. It's called Baise-moi. It's a foreign film, and it's about two women and their murderous adventure, drugs and sex and violence type of a movie. You know what I mean? But it's just like the shit they get into, you're like, God damn, like, So I guess that's the last movie I saw that I had opinion about.
That's tight. I never heard of it. I'm always looking for new stuff, especially new stuff that's not always in English. So I'm a like send me that later because I definitely want to tap in with that.
Yeah,
shit.
I feel like it might have came out in like 2000. It's not new, like 2000,
right.
Something like that. But it's kind of wild. I'll see if I can find the like the trailer or something like that to send to you.
Yeah, please. That reminds me, I didn't see this one super recently, but earlier this year there was this joint called Drive Away Dolls that came out. It's kind of similar. It's about these two women who go on a road trip because one of them's trying to move down to Florida to go live with her mom. And they like the car they rent from the spot has a dead body in it. Or no, it has a severed head in an ice bag, and it was like it was supposed to be
like head unknown, like they don't know whose head it is.
Yeah, or like we know, like the audience knows who the person's head is, but they don't know who the person's head is, and like the car was supposed to be picked up by like this criminal enterprise that was gonna like take it and trade it to somebody for something. I don't want to spoil the movie, but it kind of sounds like that, except like Drive Away Dolls is a little sillier. Like you could tell, like it's like real silly, like funny, good times, like very like a nice little
feel
queer,
good, murderous fun. You know what I mean?
Right? Exactly. Feel good, queer, murderous fun. It's good times. I liked it a lot. I want to watch it again, actually. And once again, I don't want to spoil nothing. It's one of those, like, especially with the ending and stuff, it's just worth not knowing.
I'm probably gonna peep it after enduring Baise-moi. I'll probably watch that and give that American version a go. You know what I mean?
Yeah, nah. It sounds like this will be a little less intense.
Hope so.
What else was oh yeah, before we move on, I just saw Monkey Man finally, like 2 days ago, the Dev Patel movie that just came out.
Oh, I didn't. Okay, you know what I saw? I saw Jordan Peele, I guess, maybe making commentary on that, but
He
I didn't see
produced
the
it.
movie. Okay, is it in theaters?
It's in theaters. Yeah. I think it just came out like maybe at most 2-3 weeks ago.
Okay, how was that?
It was cool. I didn't cause like a lot of people I know have seen it, and like the review because like it premiered at South by back in March, and like all like the rave reviews and stuff. I thought it was really, really good, but I didn't think it was amazing. I didn't walk out like loving. I was expecting to love it, and I like really liked it. Like there's
You're familiar with that mythology and that what do you call it? That whole Are you familiar with the story, the Monkey King storyline?
I am, yeah. See, at first
Pantheon,
it's funny.
that's the word I was looking for. That Pantheon.
Yeah. Yeah, nah. So like I'm not so like at first I was thinking about it in the context of like Tales from the West, like the Monkey King, like the Chinese telling, but like Hanuman and all of that stuff is like, you know, like that's it's a little different. It's a little different than that.
This is Hanuman. This is not Monkey King.
No,
is that what you're saying? Okay, that actually piques my interest a bit more. I have a special connection to Hanuman. So yeah, that resonates with me. I'm gonna have to see that.
Yeah, it was so like all I want to say about it is like the movie is like this kid or yeah, like Dev Patel's character, like his mom's murdered for reasons, and she kind of told him the story of Hanuman when he was growing up, and he takes, and you know, like he just kind of takes it upon himself to it's basically a revenge movie. You know, like the whole thing is just him wanting to get revenge on the two people who were responsible for his mother being killed. I'm not gonna lie, because like they're selling it as like a John Wick type of thing, where like they're selling all the action in the trailers, and there's a lot less action in the movie than I was expecting. Which, I mean, like it's not like that's like a bad thing, but I was just expecting it to be a little bit more intense. And I was reading this yesterday. I was reading this piece that an Indian writer had wrote about how the whole Hanuman thing made him have some feelings because the movie is also like a critique of Hindu nationalism, and like which is great, like fuck Hindu nationalism, but like the guy was just talking about how like part of what they're incorporating, like part of what he's trying to say is kind of like playing into it more than I think Dev Patel wanted to play into it. Like I'm not an expert, so I can't speak on it, but like it was a really interesting piece that made me look at the movie in a different way. It makes me want to watch it again, honestly. But like even all of that considered, like solid work. Like he's a good director, he's a good actor. Like I wish he had more to do in his own movie. It was kind of weird that he didn't have enough to do in his own movie, but when he's on screen, the shit's moving. So, you know,
I'm gonna need to see that. I want to read that article too, actually.
Yeah,
a couple notes that are close for me, so that's something that gives me more motivation to check it out. You know,
that's tight. Yeah. No, I got it. Oh no, I had it open in a tab. I'll send it to you later. But yeah, no, go see Monkey Man. I'd be really interested in your thoughts, honestly. But let's take it all the way back with you, Cav. What's the first movie experience you can remember having? It could be at the theater, it could be at your cousin's house, like just the first memory that comes to mind.
Last Dragon, yo.
Yeah, come on.
The Last Dragon, yo. That's it. I wouldn't be who I am today if I ain't see that shit. Motherfucker had the glow. I was a little baby. I seen that shit. It's the end. Changes everything, yo. Changed everything. You know, I used to think that was like my bio. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
that's definitive answer. Final answer.
Wow. So tell me about the first time you saw The Last Dragon and like the effect it had on you.
Oh, I seen it with my Uncle Tone, and my Uncle Tone used to dress like Eddie Murphy in The Golden Child. Me and my sister talk about that all the time. I feel like Eddie Murphy stole my Uncle Tone swag. Low key, my Uncle Tone got a YouTube channel with his fez on, going in about all the Hotepi and his latest, deepest. And so you know, and I think that's fucking gangster. But yeah, my Uncle Tone took me to see The Last Dragon, or somehow I seen it with him. I was little, and yeah, man, that shit just fucked me up. I thought I had the glow after that. You couldn't tell me, you know, Bruce Leroy type shit. You know,
yeah.
I didn't understand everything, but I ended up revisiting that movie so many times through my life. I feel like I got the DVD in my office somewhere just as a memento. You can watch anything online now, but I keep a certain shelf full of choice DVDs, and that's one of them.
That's fire. Yeah, okay, yeah. Now I gotta ask, like, what else is on that shelf? Because I also got a shelf with some choice DVD. I have a whole bookcase.
Some of them are random. It's not even that they're like movies that shaped my life. Some of them are just like, nah, you can't throw that away. Like fucking Vampire in Brooklyn. That shit is just silly. And you know, I lived in Bushwick for a really long time, and that movie takes place in Bushwick, even if it isn't fully shot there. But I feel like some of the scenes are shot there, but it takes place in Bushwick. So that shit is in there. Some Spike Lee joints like School Days. The G.I. Joe cartoon movie, because that shit is just, that's like some biblical shit.
Yeah.
What else is over there? I think I got all seasons of Martin on DVD in case like the internet forever shuts down. I could be like, well, I'm gonna just watch these Martin DVDs. You know what I mean?
Man.
And I went through a period of down where I didn't have internet, and I was grateful for my Martin DVDs. You know, so shit like that. I got a VHS. I don't know how I got that. A VHS, double VHS of Spike Lee's X.
Oh, that's tight. Wow.
So I can't throw that away. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a collector's item, bro. Easy.
Must have been my parents or something like that, but yeah, I got that shit.
That's tight. That's funny you bring up. It's funny you bring up parents and Spike Lee shit, because my dad had he had every Spike Lee movie. I think I've mentioned this story a bunch of times on the podcast, but like he had every Spike Lee movie on DVD from School Days to Bamboozled. So that's School Days, Do the Right Thing, Mo Better Blues, Jungle Fever, Crooklyn, like the whole like everything from Malcolm X.
Golden era of Spike Lee, basically.
Right, exactly.
I've seen every movie you named. I've seen them all. I've seen everyone you named. I seen Bamboozled, also fucked me up.
Right, yeah.
You know what I mean? Fucking Yasin is in that shit. Charlie Baltimore. Rest in peace to Mums. Mums the Poet is in that shit. Yeah, that movie's incredible, yo. In fact, I watched it last year. I watched it again recently, and we spoke about this on Twitter. I referenced that shit on Arm & Hammer's album. That's
of course.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I was gonna bring that up. The Old Great Niggerologist. It's one of my favorite movie references in the song ever, bro.
I definitely saw that movie in the same year that I wrote that verse. That's how I watched it.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, it's crazy because like Bamboozled in particular has come up a lot on here recently. I bring it up a ton because so many people don't know it. People don't know about it. So like I gotta tell, like anytime we talk about Spike, I'm like, because I think about it, like we all love Do the Right Thing. We all love like Malcolm X, like all of that. To like to me, I would say that I want to say that Bamboozled and Mo Better Blues are like the two of his most underrated and underappreciated.
That's very possible, yo. Mo Better Blues has hilarious scenes. I think it ends hilariously, if I'm not mistaken, with fucking Wesley Snipes screaming in the street after some woman says some kind of.
That's Jungle Fever. That's Jungle Fever.
That's Jungle Fever. Mo Better Blues is hilarious because it's reprised in Mr. Cheeks, his video. He reprises that movie in his video. I can't escape this life that I'm living. I'm in love with two women, some shit like that. That's Mo Better Blues. But but Bamboozled, you see, I think it's just the timing, man. I feel like that was like a top of the millennium or around that early 2000s type of movie. And he shot it all on mini DV, I feel like, which was kind of like a daring move at the time. It's also,
he also had no money too.
Probably had no money to do it, and it was very it's funny because that movie's so real. That movie, I'm gonna leave it at this because I could write a whole fucking thesis on that movie. But that movie is so real. It's so real that Michael Rappaport has actually revealed himself as that character.
Like,
and I've been telling niggas that. And shout outs to Frank, FWMJ. Frank said everybody anyway. Michael Rappaport, is Remy, is also the executive in Bamboozled.
Yeah.
So the movie's about the satire becoming real, and here we are.
Yeah, it was prophetic in more ways than one. Yeah,
so
like it's just like I've been meaning, because I've seen the movie twice in my life. And it's one of those that I can't watch all the time. Like the first time I watched it, like I've never done this with a movie in my entire life. I stopped about 45 minutes in and was like, I need to take a break.
That was me with Requiem for a Dream. The first time I seen that, we watched it and I got set up on how I seen it. But then like I was like, I don't know if I ever need to see that movie again.
Yeah, it's
amazing movie.
Right.
I was like, damn, like fuck.
Yo, I was talking to my homie Drive By about that on the podcast a couple weeks ago, and he was talking about how like every time he and like Fatboy Sharif are in the studio, Sharif always wants to watch Requiem for a Dream, and I'm just like, the fuck are you talking about?
Why does that sound so? Yo, I believe that a thing. Yo, how about this nigga Sharif, yo? Oh
Sharif's
man,
a clown, son. I love him so much.
I believe that 100%, man. Oh my
That shit.
god, man.
That shit makes me laugh. But I brought up but I brought up the Spike shit because like that's how I saw all those Spike movies. Cause like he had them all and they were all like wrapped. He never opened them. I don't know why he never opened them. And one day I was like, I'm gonna just watch Do the Right Thing. And that shit, you know, I was a head bust. It fucking changed my life.
Yeah.
And then I ran through as many of them as I could. I watched Bamboozled, I watched Jungle Fever, I watched all of them, you know.
You walking around on those streets. You know what I mean? All the time. I walked around on those streets when those movies was probably made. Like some of them was made. Like
right, yeah.
That's another aspect of it as a Brooklyn kid. It's just really crazy, you know.
In that case, cause like thinking about Crooklyn, I know the apartment they shot a lot of Crooklyn in was like turned into a bed and breakfast or some shit.
Oh, I'm very familiar with that street. That
like,
whole,
yeah.
I know I can tell you where that's at on Fulton and Verone.
Man.
You know what I'm saying? But yeah, it was an Airbnb for a hot minute though. It's just that now it's been an Airbnb for a long time, that house. But
that's rough, man. I
don't
love that.
I don't even know what to say, man. There's so many layers to that shit. People think I don't know, man. People think they know, they actually don't. Most of the time, you know.
Yeah, it's like it's like the fact that like the apartment Biggie grew up in sold for like $5 or $6 million. It's like, you know, like it's just like the jokes write themselves. Like I don't know, man.
Yeah, that's a trigger for me. Not a trigger like, you know. It's just, I mean, whatever, it don't matter. That's a trigger for me, just because, you know, as a kid, I was programmed to believe that I had to do everything possible to escape this neighborhood or the neighborhoods that we traversed.
Right.
So you do that. And I bought into that as a child, or found space in doing that as a kid. So I was able to leave my neighborhood a lot through that message. At the same time, then you hit a certain space, you know, you try to go to school or whatever, and that's the message. That's all part of it. And then let's say you graduate or whatever, you're looking for a job now. Not all of your peers are rushing to move to the very neighborhood that everyone told you to escape.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And now you, nor probably your family, can affordably live there. So where do you go now? You know what I'm saying? So I've watched many iterations of that. So, you know, it's just weird.
Yeah, it's there's really no words for it, you know. Like I don't have the most experience with that, but you know, like you know, like my father grew up in the Bronx, like, you know, so like he like grew up in the P's, and like every once in a while when we drive around that area, he'll like point out the building he grew up in, and just like, and then you like go and look around, like just seeing the way that New York gets gentrified, and like how they like there are like certain areas of uptown and like maybe Brownsville that haven't really been touched, but like everything else is just like the wave just,
now Brownsville's touched, but I just think we don't have a broad picture on what that really is about. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of these neighborhoods, even that we're talking about and that we find onus on, they were Jewish or they were Irish. You know what I'm saying?
right.
And you know, like Crown Heights, you know, Bed-Stuy, a lot of those neighborhoods, we think of them as black neighborhoods now. You know, Bed-Stuy is two separate neighborhoods. We call it Bed-Stuy because niggas moved there, but it's Bedford Circle and Stuyvesant Heights, and that's Bed-Stuy, right? But I think it's that we survived when we were left there to die, and we did alchemy there. So our attachment is rooted in a lot of that. You know, we kind of, you know, but that's our story with a lot of things. That's our story with fucking social media or whatever. That's black culture's story with America.
Yeah.
You give us pigs and we make, you know, something.
Bacon.
Yeah, we make
like
something. You give us potatoes and we're gonna make liquor or whatever the fuck. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, but anyway, that's my spiel on that.
No, totally. So you know, as you continue to grow and have life experiences and move about in Brooklyn, was there a movie that you saw or rather, can you remember the first movie you saw that really stopped you in your tracks as like a capital M movie, something that really like touched you in like a spiritual, emotional, artistic sense, like something that really spoke to you as something more than just like 90 minutes of entertainment, which is also great, but
it probably was that era of Spike Lee films. It probably was Do the Right Thing. And if not that specifically, I'm a big fan, you know, Quelle knows this a lot, you know, like 90s urban drama, cinema, you know. I think a movie that spoke to me as a kid and as a young adult also was Fresh.
Yeah.
Sean Nelson, that movie. It's a film I've seen many times. I feel like I may have watched that recently. Um, just something about that kid's story in a lot of respects I relate to, minus coming from a broken home. You know what I mean? But a lot of
Yeah.
other components. Just even also too how it's an interesting visual documentary of Bushwick pre-gentrification and what Bushwick was like. You know, that was the area in Brooklyn that was like the South Bronx. That was the area that faced like, you know, that was barren or had burnt out buildings and was just full blocks. Like, you know, before a lot of us was born, in that same period when the Bronx was burning, the summer of the blackout, there were riots across New York City, and and Bushwick was a hot point for that. So you saw like, you know, that's what I think was one of the seeds of building burnouts in that area, and then white flight from Jewish business owners on Broadway, which used to be like where people went and got appliances and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? Big stores. So yeah, anyway, that movie for sure. I think also because it's told from a kid's perspective.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And just like the magnitude of what he had to navigate, I think was intense. That even a child could identify that it's intense without having to have the full maturity and understanding of all the situations that comprise that.
Right. Yeah, I think so I watched Fresh for the first time within the last year because my homie Gang had mentioned it and he kind of got on my ass about not having seen Fresh. Yeah, but yeah, it's really something. There really aren't many of those. Like I've been thinking about this recently. There aren't very many movies like that told from the perspective of a kid. You know, like there's like something, like there's like something really unique about that because it's just like there's like an innocence there and just like and just like a sense of like misunderstanding that like I mean, you know, like not to like I don't want to call all of us adults jaded, but like a lot of adults are jaded, rightfully so in some cases. And it's always it's just cool to me when people decide like people tend to look at I mean children can be naive obviously but like people think that kids are just like people confuse being naive for being stupid and it's not and then those two
No,
things aren't the same
no,
you
they're
know
not. They're
so
not.
I think it was really cool to see it was really cool to see somebody kind of take that aspect of that story seriously. I feel like Crooklyn kind of does that too a little bit
Now,
but
Crooklyn's definitely told from a child's perspective. It's one of the few movies of, you know, few Spike Lee movies that I guess has, even though it's a young woman, a woman's voice so prominently, other than his debut. And yeah, Crooklyn too, man. You know, I have close friends who Crooklyn very much, even though it takes place in the 70s, resembled their upbringing in the 90s, like the
right.
household living in a brownstone and Bed-Stuy, you know, yeah, just a lot of that, man. I have a joke with, you know, one of the same bros where we talk about Delroy Lindo as like the quintessential Caribbean dad, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, yo, it's just, yeah, Crooklyn too. But I think Crooklyn is like a whole like coming of age thing. And not that Fresh isn't, but Fresh confronted things that you typically didn't see from a child's eyes being confronted. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? And but that was very apparent if you were in New York between, you know, the 80s and the 2000s growing up in certain areas. Like this is what be going on in our neighborhoods.
Yeah, and I think Giancarlo Esposito did great as the dealer dude. Yeah, it's I actually feel like I need to go back and watch it one more time, but I really enjoyed it, and it was nice to just kind of have that like in my head, just like hearing stories. Like I grew up in Jersey, I live in Jersey, but I've spent more than enough time like between family and all the shit I do now, like in New York. And like once again, like I'm a generation removed from the fucking Bronx, so like I have a lot of those stories on me. So it's that's one I would just want to go back and pay a little more attention to and just pull the details. But that's just like I loved that they decided to do that from it's just like you don't see that happen super often.
Right.
And I appreciated that about it a lot. Now before I ask you my next question, I've been thinking about this because we've been talking a lot about you, like growing up and like being in New York. But like I mean, like you're in New Orleans now. You've been in New Orleans for quite a while. You're literally talking to me from your porch. But I guess I mean, A, how long have you been in New Orleans? And B, what do you like since you've kind of established yourself out there, what have you noticed that's either or actually no, what have you noticed that's both the same and different about like your neighborhood or just like the culture? Like how has it been coming from New York and posting up in New Orleans?
New Orleans was definitely a big shift for me. Moving to the South in general, breaking out of the New Yorker mindset that New York
Right.
is the epicenter of the universe. Even if you didn't think you believed that, you kind of leave New York and you embody a lot of that.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of entitlement too into the world because we have access to such worldly experiences and diverse experiences. Um, and then you come to a place like New Orleans that has also a very strong cultural identity.
Right.
So it's not like other cities where you can kind of just easily plop in and reinvent yourself. Like there's already a long-standing, distinguished flavor here, you know, and speed. So there's that. At the same time, as a first generational person, I feel like I see the remnants of that cultural cross pollination that New York has, where we get to refresh that because we have, increasing consistent flow of Caribbean and diasporic immigrants, right?
Right.
Um, but here it's more like it's in the legacy of the place. It's in the legacy of the people. It's in their faces and in their last names. It's in the architecture. So you're experiencing it differently. You know, New York, you felt the Caribbean because of how it smelled and how it felt, but not because of how it looked. And here in New Orleans, it'll be almost like how it looks and how it feels and how it sounds sometimes, that type of
Yeah.
thing. So there's definitely those are, I guess those are the connectors. But it's an intense place, just like New York, but for different reasons. They're both port cities and they're both definitely portals in my mind. You know what I'm saying? Where a lot can be accessed if you tap into access it. So those are the ways that they are similar and different.
One of these days, I've always wanted to come down to New Orleans. It just hasn't happened. It just hasn't happened for whatever reason. But I've heard great things. I want beignets. I want to run into Currency. I want to go to his store. all the dumb shit.
It's a small city, so you do run into people,
Mm-hmm.
including the likes of Currency or Manny Fresh or Polo Silk. You know what I mean? You can run into people in this city for sure.
That's wild. Yeah, nah, and yeah, just like the jazz, the rap, just like all like the Creole, everything down there. I don't know. I've always had love and appreciation for that corner of the country, and I haven't been. So, I'm just always fascinated to hear about it from people. You're always I'm always most fascinated by stuff that I can't that like I haven't you want to experience,
Right, right.
curious minds
No,
and
it's
all that.
definitely, yeah, it's an intense place, but I do encourage people to visit. It's one of those places in America where you could visit for a weekend and feel like you actually went somewhere, you know.
Yeah.
So I do encourage people to visit, and it's it's not America's oldest city, but it really the city where America's culture that was born on this soil really forms, you know.
Right. And yeah, like and yeah, it's been rebuilt what, like twice now, 3 times, something like
Probably,
that. Like,
probably. I'm not
you
I'm
know,
not that I'm not an expert on at all, but I'm sure the way the shit
right,
is out here.
right. And you know, like you were talking earlier about being a first generation American, and you've mentioned in other interviews growing up with a lot of calypso around you, which is beautiful. And like before, like I hear like I heard that in your music before you even said it, which is super dope. But like, you know, talk to me, but yeah, like on the music tip, like same question with the movies. Like when did music kind of become capital M music for you? Like when did it go from just being a thing in the background to being like, this is life? Or was it always that? Yo, my fault. Sorry to interrupt, but I just wanted to shout out the all new Real Notes Patreon page real quick. If you're looking for ways to connect and directly support the podcast, the Real Notes Patreon is the best way to do so. For as little as $5 a month, you can gain early day before access to every forthcoming episode of Real Notes, as well as an invite to the Real Notes Discord server, where you can talk to others about the latest and greatest in movies and music, come through for some listening sessions, and talk about whatever else is on your mind. I know I'm gonna be talking a bunch. If you feel like coming up off a little bit more, you could get cool exclusive content like audio from Real Notes Live and Real Talk interviews. Those will be exclusive to patrons and ticket holders moving forward. Access to retro versions of my 60-second Minute Maid movie reviews, and even a monthly writing and podcasting workshop hosted by me. Regular episodes will still be available on a weekly basis anywhere you get your podcasts, but if you want the extras, you gotta come out them pockets a bit. Check us out at patreon.com/realnotes. That's REELNOTES. I appreciate your consideration and support more than you know. Now let's get back to talking.
That's a good question. I don't think these things tend, for me at least, that is not a singular moment. I'm not, I feel like you ask artists that these days and they always have the same answer. Like, I grew up in a musical household and or like maybe there's a smaller percentage whose parents actually were, musicians or accomplished musicians, right?
Right.
Which makes a lot of sense, right? At the same time, I maybe because I'm from an immigrant enclave, the music becomes a way to lock in your identity, solidarity,
right,
kind of who's in your community, you know what I'm saying? It's like a link back to the homeland of your parents, right? So you may know what their homeland sounded like before you knew what it looked like, So there's a lot of that. I think New York also just provides a very unique opportunity to be exposed in that way. But music was very present in my household for sure. Not just in the fact that it was played often, but like I grew up in a 2-parent household, for better or worse, and that my parents, they would like beat percussion on pots and pans on a Saturday morning for real. Like, and I'm not joking, like on some real Caribbean shit, like while doing stuff in the kitchen. Like that wasn't necessarily uncommon. Yeah, it's just present. I have musicians that are part of like the musical legacy of the Caribbean that are in my family line. You know what I'm saying? Like, Andre Tanker is considered like the father of like Caribbean folk jazz, and that's my cousin. I'm in his he's in my family line. You know what I'm saying? So
right.
There's a special place, I guess, and reverence for music because of things like that. Because it's not just him, like his kids, like their siblings, like they're all in music. You know what I'm saying? And other families I know were taught music by some of that nuclear family too, right? So yeah, there's just there's a lot of music intertwined there with identity and community and just present all the time.
Right. And I think it's important that you emphasize that, like, it's like thinking about your parents like banging on pots and pans. Like that's like, you talking about not just having music like playing, but like that's like that's like a lifestyle. That's like a way of life type of thing that goes beyond just like, oh, I play music, or like, oh, I was a musician, or oh, I used to listen to XYZ album or artist or whatever. Like that's like, you know, like that's up there with like throwing music on while you clean your house on a Sunday, you know,
right.
like that's
It's just present. Some people,
yeah.
I would hope people have music in their lives, but not everyone does actually. But you know, my grandmother made us sing "I Love You, Jesus." Yes, I do. You know what I'm saying? That type of, you know, and you know, I recorded a tape with my cousin as a toddler and was fake gibberish rapping on that shit. So I had some understanding of the fact that I even knew you could press record on there and record your voice. You know what I mean? And we had names. Like my name was like Nicodemus or something weird like that I made up. But we like that. I didn't like that's not made up. That really happened. But I must have watched someone. You know what I mean? But yeah, toddlers recording fake gibberish raps on a cassette. Like I was on it like that. Among other silly things, other silly things being recorded to cassette, but definitely that. Right. My sister, I shouldn't even tell the story. It's so awful, but like I had a fake band, right? This is probably like I'm probably like, man, like I might have been like 8, you know what I'm saying? Like young, but I could have friends over young, you know, friends in my building.
Yeah.
And like I had my own room. And I would close the door and you just hear this commotion coming out of the room. And I made this fake band called African Booty Scratchers. That was the name of the band. Everybody had a fake African name. You know what I'm saying? Ajamola, Abubakar. It was a bunch of niggas from my building. And you know when your parents go on like a cruise or like they go to like Puerto Rico or some shit and they come back with some little souvenir drums or some bullshits, or the shit the Karate Kid had where he was spinning the shit like this in his hand.
Yeah.
I had shit like that in the miscellaneous toys in my room. So everybody got one of those and we'll be beating on that shit, speaking fake, made up African languages, yelling and shit. And I would be recording shit like that in my room. African booty scratches. Damn, that's crazy. I let that out, but that's real. My sister could verify that. She thought I was crazy for that, but she also wanted in. She wanted in. You know what I'm saying? But that's if this ever makes it to the internet, she could verify that that's a real story.
This will
make it to the internet. Some of them niggas grew up and became fucking criminals, bro. Straight up fucking criminals. Like seriously, bro. Serious fucking criminals. And you could, jail probably profiling these niggas like what type of shit you was doing as a kid. And they'd be like, yo, this kid in my building gave me a fake name, Abubakar, had me in a band playing the Karate Kid drums called African Booty Scratches, yo.
That's crazy, son. Oh my
real,
God.
Dog. Straight up, yo. I had niggas that I grew up with that went to real life jail at like 16, 17, and like we didn't see them again. You know what I mean? So they, you know,
you always got that, yeah.
Yeah, but we was in the African Booty Scratches together, yo.
That's hilarious. So now I gotta ask, was African Booty Scratches was that a Boys in the Hood reference? Or was that just like a thing that popped out?
Nah, I'm just an idiot, and that was a diss. People used to say that as a diss.
Yeah, I remember.
It's it's messed up, but that's that, and or like they would get it Haitian kids, unfortunately. You know what I'm saying?
But, yeah, terrible.
But for some reason, maybe it was like part of like early reclaiming, like nigga, and I was like, nah, we the African Booty Scratches. That's our band. You know, I don't know why I wanted to assume this fake African identity. You know, kids in the 90s, bro. You know,
yeah, you know, that's yeah,
you know what
man.
I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I just brought that up because that's one of the parts I remember, like early in the movie, like one of the kids calls Trey an African booty scratcher. So like that was one of the, I mean, like me being younger, that was one of my first exposures to like that,
okay.
You know, so
my son be doing that now. Some little boy, I was with my son, I had him in the wagons. New Orleans is crazy, man. And I seen a murder this morning, no lie. It had to be a murder, but fucking, I'm wheeling my son in the wagon. We're having like what would normally be like a suburban moment, but there's no fucking, this ain't a suburb, it's the city. So like we're on the wagon and we're coming down a pretty regular street, and there's a group of kids on the perpendicular street, older than my son. My son is a toddler, and I see this group of kids. They're like playing in the street. I don't know if they're playing with a basketball. They was doing something. And the youngest of them, that's older than my son, he looked like he's probably like 6 or 7. He runs over to us, like, and I thought he was just running over on some excited kid shit because he sees me pulling a kid in a wagon, and he gets close to us and just flips us off like that, like fuck y'all.
Wow.
And I reacted like I wanted to say something wild, but my son is on full tape recorder mode watching me. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
The other boys to see like who's the elder statesman amongst them. Like, yo, you got this little nigga running around here flipping people off, this little shit, right? But I didn't say nothing. But my son is so fucking. He was like, "What?" So we walk away, and he sees he's watching me, and he's like, "What, Daddy? What? Why he did that? Why he did that when he point like that? Like what he was doing with his fingers?" You know, and my son is trying to get the scoop. Like he never seen that before. And I was like, nah, he was just being naughty. Like he's like, well, why he do that?
Yeah, all the questions,
like, yeah. You know what I'm saying? He just pointing up at the sky. You know, he's asking me deep questions like maybe he's trying to figure it out. Like maybe he's trying, like maybe he's saying goodbye, or maybe he's like trying to figure it out, and I'm trying not to make it hot. But that's now I know now for sure that's burned in my son's brain. They're like,
oh yeah,
this means some shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so, give him 20 years. That's gonna be a pivotal memory. He's gonna be like, you
like,
remember?
Oh yeah, that little boy ran up like that, and Daddy didn't like it.
Oh, that's hilarious. Wow. So sorry, that's so funny.
Yeah, I got high.
No,
two real back-to-back stories: African booty scratches and kids giving a middle finger.
Nah, man, it's what we're here for, bro. It's the new Combat Jack, bro. Mm-hmm. Nah, but what was I gonna ask? So as you start to get older and you know, just once again experience life more, was there ever a period of time when like film and music, when you consciously realized that film and music were two things that complement one another? Like that could be, you know, there's like a million different ways they could be.
Nah, I'm gonna sum it up very succinctly in this.
Come on.
The filmmaker Shaka King, right?
Yeah.
For those who don't know, he made Judas and the Black Messiah, right? Oscar-winning film, Judas and the Black Messiah. Co-scored by Quelle Chris and Chris Keys. Right? Major moment.
They did amazing. The two of them, they did great.
But Shaka's like my big brother. Like I really grew up with him as like a big brother figure to me. You know what I'm saying? He's in some way directly touched or referenced on probably every album I've ever put out. But that's like something that mainly like me and my homies would know. But why it's important to mention him here is like I watched him growing up, and now he's this filmmaker that like has, you know, that's made these epic works and will continue to do so, right? He's carrying on the tradition of like Spike, what we talk about. The Brooklyn filmmaker making these like poignant movies that are really pertinent to the Black culture and beyond, right? So, but Shaka and I grew up like listening to the Tribe Called Quest, and that was like the soundtrack to our adolescence and shit, you know what I mean? And like he's the one that put me on to like looking on the liner notes of a vinyl to see the musicians, to learn like about the other vinyl that might have samples on it. Like he was on it like that as a young person and put me on to that. And even as we got older, he lived a floor below me. Like, so through my 20s and shit, you know what I'm saying? And like, or like, yeah, like into my, like he lived right downstairs. And when he would be working on the movies that became the stepping stones of his career, he also always listened to vinyl. You know what I'm saying? And so I say that to say like that resonated because that's how writing rhymes is for me. It's a visual experience a lot for me when I'm working on music. You know what I'm saying? We share our Mercury and Pisces, me and him. So I don't know if that's what it is, but like that space, like there's not always like a hard line. Like even when you're talking about the music that I experienced, right? My first experiences with music, I'm seeing a memory,
right,
to pinpoint the music benchmark. You see what I'm saying? Those are the sounds. The music is the sounds, but I'm seeing it too. And so, yeah, I guess like that sealed in young for me, particularly having like a brother figure who even it's very intentional. Like the scoring of Judas and the Black Messiah was intentional. I know there's a correlation, I think, to how he approaches writing and why he might be listening to certain jazz, you know? So yeah, it's almost like arms on the same body. you know?
Yeah. No, I agree 100%. You know, like that's kind of how, like, how do I even put this? When like I feel like the concept of like film, like that's how I like envision the world. Like it's weird to think about, but like whenever you think about memories, like it's not always like the first person that you experience. Like I'll be doing like jump cuts between conversations and
other people's perspectives, you know,
right, other people's perspectives, and just like you know, it's like you're like creating your own, you're like recreating the world in your head. And like for me, it always happened like through movies and through music too, you know, like like I'm always thinking of like what could, like there's always some song that's playing in the back. It's like you said, it's like two arms on the same, like that's the perfect way to put it. Like those
like
are
my albums are movies for me.
Right.
Like I deliver them like movies. That's why that's why the whole like cherry pick the joints for playlisting aspect is kind of wild, because it's like, all right, so you're just gonna take this one scene out of context from my movie and put it in a playlist with a bunch of other random scenes from other movies. It's kind of weird. Doesn't mean it can't work or that that's not creative, but that wasn't, there's no context to why that scene, like you don't even know how we got there.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And artists like myself, like, yo, Quelle and I have conversations like, nah, that song should be second, yo. You know what I'm saying? And it's not just about like the bounce. You know what I mean? Like, so yeah, the albums, I hope that people that dive into albums still, that appreciate albums, will make the space to appreciate mine, because, you know, I want it to be an experience that's felt, and that's not only through the sonics, it's delivered through the sonics.
Right. You know, I'm happy you bring that up so early, because one of my favorite lines on one of my favorite lines on Different Type Time is when you say you leave my biopic liable to shoot on Doodoo Damien. Like that's one of my favorite lines on that whole album.
Yeah, like, because that happened, but that happened as a kid, when these urban dramas, that some of which we named, if you look back in the headlines, there's theaters that closed, that never reopened in New York City, because you know, when Menace to Society came out, niggas shot the theater up, yo.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Or when, you know, when Boys in the Hood came out, niggas shot the theater up, yo. And it's whack that happened. I'm not celebrating that, you know what I'm saying? But that's how visceral, and also I think a moment of very stark recognition, like, yo, because imagine that was happening in cities that are not LA, but it was still speaking to something, you know. So yeah, man, that's why that's kind of what inspired that. You know, you leave my biopic liable to shoot. That was really happening. They were showing black men's stories on the big silver screen, and motherfuckers like bullets went in the air. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's, you know, like there's obviously a lot of factors and things, are like all of that shit's complicated, but like that's real, like you said, you know, like that really happened. Like I mean, I wasn't there to experience a lot of it because it was happening in the 90s, but like it was you know, like I mean, yeah, you said it, I don't need to add anymore. But it's just cool. Like I just liked that, and I appreciated it. And you're like, your albums do kind of feel like movies to me. Like they feel like, you know, like not even just in terms of their scope, or in terms of not even just in terms of the scope, or in terms of like the way you write or anything, but just like the fact that there's so much intention behind all of it. Like whether it's the sequencing or like your writing, like, you know, like it feels very cinematic in a way. It's like, this is how I'm presenting it to you, and this is how I want it to be seen. It's not just like, you know, like whether it's Chief, or whether it's like any of your other projects, like it's never just like, here's 18 songs that have nothing to do with one another. Like it's all interconnected. And like obviously there's plenty of people who still want to experience albums like it's like, I mean, like I'm one of them, you're one of them, I could name several others, but you know, like it's you know, like I think that's just something that's so ingrained that it's never really gonna go away, like ever. It might not be like the dominant mode anymore, but like people still like to hear an album. You know, it's like it's a skill to be able to put an album together. Like anybody can just make a project with 16 songs on it. Like,
which is dope too. That's a feat in
right
of itself. Yeah,
totally, yeah, no, but like it's a different animal to be able to, you know, like put together a thing and be like, this song flows into the next one, like, and you're like, not even in terms of like a conceptual thing either, like it's not like it has to be, you know, you don't got to be like Kendrick, you know, like you can just like you can still be intentional about placement and whatever, and not have like a whole story being told, or at least not something that's like, oh, it needs to go in this. I don't know. I feel like I'm rambling right now, but yeah, that's just it's a skill to be able to do that, and I appreciate that you don't shy away from that after all this time.
I love that. I love that type of shit, man.
Cool. Yeah, no, yeah, I could tell you do. And you know, so I want to know now that, you know, like after, you know, like you do all these things, and when did you first realize that music was going to become more than just a hobby for you? Like, when did you become a lifer in this shit?
I think that there were just more things opening up the more I leaned into believing in my trusting myself. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Whereas other things that I was putting my time and effort into was putting me in like harm's way. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or like putting me in spaces and places to learn things the hard way. It also had like encouragement from certain like brother type figures like a Shaka King. You know, there's another gentleman that went to school with Shaka that's a DJ now out of Baltimore, you know, Merc the Maroon. He does the intro on the Black Cottonwood album. But that brother, he had a studio space in Brooklyn and allowed myself and others to like, I'd never really been in this, I had no studio experience, you know what I'm saying? So my point being like those things opening up for me became validating factors that like this was the path to keep walking on, you know, because, you know, I felt like it was being guided up and opening up for me that way.
Right.
And also that I wanted to do things that were meaningful to me, and that means something to me. This culture means a lot to me, and the art we make also means a lot to me.
Yeah, you know, like this shit matters. Like
Yeah, it definitely
you know,
matters,
like
man.
it's an ecosystem, you know, like it's I mean, like culture is obviously like a good word, and it's one that's kind of like stamped as a thing, but like it's like an ecosystem. Like you know, like every facet of it feeds off of and feeds into the next thing, and that's how it stays. You know, like that's how it mutates and adapts and stuff. And I think you know, like going back through your career in as much detail as I could, it's really wild to see like where it all started and like where you ended up, just considering like everything you just said about your studio experience, and then like that leading you to stuff like the Dugout and everything with like the Vibe Music Collective, and just like, you know, like you've been, like, it feels to me like you've lived so many lives already, and that was even before Niggas Is Men came out. Like, you know, so before we even get to that, like, talk to me briefly about your time cutting your teeth dolo and like forming yourself as a musician, like to the point where you get to things like the Dugout and VMC.
Well, the Dugout was exactly the space I'm talking about. That was my entry point.
Yeah.
You know, as a younger person, like never recorded anywhere formally, didn't really know anything about that process. I didn't have any the formalities. You know what I'm saying? And they there were more experienced peers or older, just adjacent to my peer group there, that also were intelligent people and took their art intention. They made art with intention. You know, it was, I had access to other artists because of spaces like the Dugout, basically, to
Right.
like hone and learn and spend a lot of time learning. Um, you know, my first entry point as like, I was calling it an album then because I didn't want it. I wanted people to take it serious, but it was my demo. The first project I ever put out was really my demo. It's the first project I ever made. It was the first songs I ever made. You know what I'm saying? But I went so hard. I was like, nah, this shit is out. I'm getting musicians. I went crazy, you know? And that led to things like, you know, what came later, you know what I'm saying? That opened me up to go abroad. That put me on the pathway to be connected to Quelle, you know what I mean? In returning, you know, artists that I toured with abroad came back. Some of them were more tuned in to like emerging artists in other regions and shit, in other scenes, like a Quelle or a Knowledge, you know what I'm saying? And also how other veterans were like carving space, like a DiBiase, you know what I'm saying? So that was tuning me into that space. And yeah, and then it was like with Quelle, he, you know, God bless Quelle, man. You know, he debuts on his label Appearance and puts me on like damn near every song. You know what I'm saying? So that people knew about me in Brooklyn. But after that record, people knew about me in Brooklyn. They knew about me in Oakland. They knew about me in LA. You know what I'm saying? It was kind of more like that now. You know, I started experiencing people knowing who I was in places that were unfamiliar to me.
Right. Yeah, no, that was like that was y'all's purple tape. You know, like that was it was I'm yeah, like I mean, like obviously it's not like you know, like content wise, maybe not so much, but like that was like you guys were Ray and Ghost.
Yeah, a lot of people said that. You know what I mean? We was Cav and Quelle because you know, but I feel you. It felt synergistic in that same way. You know,
right?
It still does.
Yeah, of course. I mean, yeah, I mean, like y'all haven't. It's not like y'all stopped working together. Like you know, like Black Cottonwood's out, and you know, like I'm really happy I was able to get myself a copy before y'all put it up on streaming just to like have it. You know, like I feel like that's a really like y'all's. I mean, like you know, you've mentioned him several times. Like y'all's working history goes back at least a decade, if not more, at this point.
No, we on the anniversary. Yeah, just about 10 years. Well, it might be a little over now, but about that long. Yeah.
Of what? Of
Niggas. Well, Niggas is Men. The 10-year anniversary was last March.
Yeah, 2013. Yeah. Right. And yeah, no, before I even move on to Chief, yeah, I guess like I mean like you and Quelle, like what you know, like considering how long y'all have been working together, like what do you think it is about Quelle as an artist and a person that really kind of draws you to him and like continue you know, like what is it about him that really draws you to him as a creative and a human?
A lot of things, man. It's just you know with fam, you know, that's my brother, man. And that's one of the great bonuses of this type of thing where you meet incredible people. You hope to at least meet incredible people along the way.
Right.
So there's that. But I think, you know, me and Quelle did a song one time on Niggas is Man called Old Friend. And I remember people responding like, yo, I don't think I've ever heard a rap song about something like that before. You know what I mean? They like, is this based off Cloud Atlas? I didn't even know what Cloud Atlas was. I had never even seen it. And but I think
hilarious.
Some of the inspiration, not saying that song is literally about this, but there was a lot of like, nah, we supposed to be here energy. You know what I'm saying? And that plays into the mindset I already told you about, just kind of like, okay, these are open, this is opening up for me here, or this feels instinctive here, right? And there's a lot of that energy, at least for me personally, you know, in Lincoln with Q, you know what I'm saying, with Quelle. So yeah, man, and just admiration and respect, you know, reflection, you know what I mean? The things you hope to experience in putting and creating things into the world, right? Like that's kind of almost why we do it, right? So to be able to do it and have that amplified by someone collaborating with you doing that, it, you know, magnifies that experience, you know. So that's I guess that's it, you know.
Yeah. You're right. Because the first time I ever heard, I think I told you this before, but the first time I ever heard you was on In Case I Lost Myself in the Crowd from Being You Is Great. I Wish I Could Be You More Often. And that I mean, like that album is like that album helped me a lot in some dark times in my life. And like that song in particular is a really special one to me. I think about it a lot. I love you. I'm like your verse opens the song, and like just the way y'all go back.
Recorded that in my crib, you know what I'm saying? At least not the whole song. But when that song, as how it starts, that was how it started. Like Quelle brought the beat to my house, and those may even be my original vocals recorded like in a room with like adjacent to where my bed is. Like you know what I'm saying? Like
yeah.
Like that homely. It was very true to the moment, you know what I'm saying? And then Quelle masterfully expanded on it with the other features. But that's how that song started. Like we recorded actually nearly all of Niggas Is Men like in my bedroom.
Damn.
You know what I'm saying? Like that shit had artists pulling up to my crib that, I'm like, oh shit, like motherfucking Rockness Monster from, Boot Camp is in here. Like,
right, yeah.
That ain't even on the record, but that was coming around because something was just swirling with what Quelle and I was doing. And that's how, Don Will and Von P ended up on the record. I didn't know them like
Tanya
that.
Morgan. Yeah.
We got Tanya Morgan on the record. So, yo, man, yeah, a lot of people was pulling up. I was joking around about this on Twitter, but that's when like McConan was pulling up to my crib. That's when, Susie Analog was there in that era too.
Yep.
But Susie might even be. Is Susie on the record? Susie? No, she's on a different record. But that's because that same era though. She's on a different song on a different record. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
In that era, people was pulling up, and if we would be recording in my fucking bedroom, and not on no fancy setup, like real bare bones.
That's tight. Yeah, and before I even forget, shout out to Susie Analog. I just spoke to her kids at UNC Chapel Hill last
I went
week.
out there. I spoke to them too, yo. I spoke to them
hard.
On the tour with Arm & Hammer. I pulled up on them, and I actually been talking to Susie more recently because it's really just about time that more people speak up about Susie's impact on the culture and on the game, like you know what I'm saying, and the amount of inspired bombs that Susie has dropped on the culture is that just needs to be more publicly stated. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Easy, yeah, nah. She's been incredible for years, and
she just dropped a joint like 2 days ago with Blue.
Yeah. You know, like people really don't know how far back her stuff stretches, and like I just had her on the pod. Must have been like maybe closing in on 2 years ago at this point, but like that's how we first connected. But yeah, she's dope, man. Shout out to her, always and forever. So like all of this happens, Niggas Is Men drops. You like that kind of amplifies your whole thing a little bit more. And not too long after that, like not barely even a year, Chief happens.
Yes.
Which like Chief turns 10 this year, which I didn't realize until I went back and was doing my research. But like, wow, yeah, like so I mean, like this I can't tell you how many times I listened to I can't tell you how many times I listened to Bitter Truth with you and Raekwon on it today. Like I went back and re-listened to that song. Like I was only going to listen to it once because I wanted to hear the whole thing again, but like I ran that shit back like 5 times. I was like,
this is I haven't honestly I might need to listen to that record. I haven't listened to that song in a long time. My sister is a fan of that record. And it's not even because I don't like it or anything. I just haven't listened to Chief in a long time, yo. Haven't listened to Chief in a long time.
Yeah, and like, thinking about it, because I mean, like, like this is the project you put out after, like this is your big, like, hey, here's my solo thing over here, and like to have, to have that come out right after you got your first big look. Like talk to me about putting that project together and like doing that, but also like looking back on it because it's been like it's about to turn 10 in like June or something, right?
Yeah, I know September.
My fault.
Yeah, September. It turns 10 in September. Yeah, I think I wish I could say it was this real rosy experience. It was a lot of trial by fire, man. I linked Quelle in the process of making the Chief record, and I was looking for producers to contribute to the record, and that was part of how the introduction to Quelle was made, you know. But which is why he's on the album, and he's on like essentially the title track, the song Chiefs, right, which he produced. So I was already working on that, and then, you know, while doing that, Niggas Is Men just happened. You know what I'm saying? So that was I didn't anticipate it. That's just kind of how I was already working on or wrapping up Chief. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, you know, that album, I'm also my peers, a lot of them, and in the decade afterwards, up until this point, this is my first project with a label. So through that 10-year period, most of my peers, if not all of them, have put out projects in collaboration with labels, or being signed as an artist to a label or on their roster in some way or for a period of time. And I didn't do that, you know. And Chief, I wanted it to make impact. I did my best to guide that impact, but you kind of don't have control over those things.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of things that I didn't know, and there's a lot of things that were in the landscape that were just happening at the time, like the blog cosign and you know, people starting to engage like PR services, right? That I didn't quite have access to at that time. So, you know, I just leaned on making as good of an album as I felt I could at that time with the resources around me. And of course, as an artist, it's like, yeah, I could have did this better as an artist, right? I guess. But you know, I went hard, and that's also the beginning of the journey where people are starting to see visuals in tandem with how I'm delivering the music. You know, the Chief album is where I pretty much was like, I don't perform in rap videos. I don't rap at the camera. I don't do those type of videos. I'm making films, or I'm capturing moments, or I'm cinematizing a moment. And Chief is where I began doing that. Is where I had more space to kind of experiment in that way. And I wanted to do so much more, you know, and sometimes that's the gift and the curse of making projects like that with these layers. Like, you could fall into it and continue to fall into it, you know. So Chief, had I had more control, it would have came out, the rollout of it all would have happened, I guess, more in line, I guess. I don't know, man, I guess. But I did also, it opened up a lot of opportunities for me. Like, my first solo appearance on Boiler Room happened because of the Chief album, right? And it was a very different Boiler Room. You know, the Raekwon feature that we just mentioned, or collaborating with producers like Obliv, you know what I'm saying, who I know now through that project. My relationship being formed with Quelle, my relationship with Malik Abdul Rahman, who does a couple joints on that record. And he's someone that I got to know in real life, you know what I'm saying? A lot of the people on that album showed up for me in ways in real life. You know, Obliv came to New York when I was, you know, through the Chief album, I got to record at Converse Rubber Tracks. I got to do shows with Joey Badass. I got to put out a limited edition T-shirt through Converse. You know what I mean? Like, I got to do these other things, but sometimes you run an ill fate when you're the pioneer. You know, I dropped Chief. The only physical was the Gold Bar USB that it came on. Yeah. You know, I've seen some artists doing that recently in the last couple of years, and it's like, oh, I did that in 2014. Right? And you know, they sold out and shit like that. But yeah, I think also I had a lot of support making that record, more than I had not that, like, I had a different type of support before, like in like other camps, or with me finding my voice. You're a bunch of artists kind of like, it's like in the dojo together, right? But when I was making Chief, I had other types of creatives turn around and be like, okay, our first collective outpouring will be Cav's album. You know what I'm saying? So someone who had a background in, like, you know, visual marketing and branding and some of that, they worked on Chief to some degree too, right? Like, a person who was skilled in graphic design and rollout, they contributed to Chief, right? Like, homies who could assist me in creative direction contributed to Chief. So that, on that respect, it taught me how to deliver projects closer to the scale that I envisioned them.
Right. And I mean, like, scale's definitely the word I would use to describe a lot of Chief. You know, like it feels big, you know, because I mean, like, people can put out albums that are long, but they don't feel big. You know, like, this feels big. You know, like, all of your albums feel big, and that's something I think I've always appreciated about the way that you put a project together. Like, they feel like, you know, like, you want to walk around and look in the corners, and like there's always something to find in all of
So
your songs.
you know, I want to create worlds, and I want to
Yeah.
create worlds that I'm not the only person in.
Mm. Wow. Yeah, because, you know, like, yeah, you know, like, all of these worlds are, like inhabited by people before us, and are hopefully made for people to come to after we're gone. And, you know, like that's one of the things I love about Private Stock so much. You know, like, Private Stock very much feels like that to me, like that exact ethos. You know, like, there's always, like, anytime I hear a Cavalier song or a Cavalier album, it's like it really is some, like, conversing with the ancestors type shit, where it feels like you're having conversations with, like, dead aunts and fucking, you know, like, friends you haven't talked to in 10 years who may have passed away or had some other shit going on. Like there's just so many details. And, like, once again, like, going back and re-listening to the old stuff, like, there's stuff that like, stuff that I've been listening to for, you know, like, 5-6 years, and I just never caught ever, you know. And, like, that's great, you know. Like, I love a project that just continues to unfurl itself, you know, years and years and years later. Like, that's deep shit.
Yeah, I love shit like that, man. I mean, that's the
You know.
Wu. The Wu dropped their shit and was like, they not gonna get this till the year 2000 or whatever,
Yeah.
right? And like whatever the fuck how the song go, but you
Yeah.
know, yeah, that's part of that's definitely the aim. You know, I don't want to make disposable music because I
Right.
think it'll nurture the underbelly of what I loathe. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like, you know, and I only say loathe because I don't feel like it supports the beauty of what we're doing, like that mindset. And I don't think it is a natural fit to its origins. That's all. But
Right.
yeah, you know, that's the aim, yo, to put to make it layered, make it a rich experience, to create worlds that you can fall into and relate to and connect. And then now we're having a connected experience of many of us, right? That you don't have to be a part of my story or me to be a part of yours to understand one another. You know what I'm saying? And shit like
Right.
that.
And yeah, I think that extends even further to the fact that, like, you only have, like, 3 or 4 solo projects to your name at this point. You know, like, you put out Chief, you put out Lemonade, you put out Private Stock,
And then
and
this.
now and then this, you know. So, like, I mean, like, you know, life happens and all that. But before we dive further into different type time, just like, what what was going on for you that kind of, like, was it or like, was it your intention to kind of have some, well, I mean, like, there was barely a year between Chief and Lemonade, but then, like, there's 3 between Private Stock, and now, you know, like, 6 years between that and different
Yeah.
times. So, like, what was I mean, like, it's not like you stopped making music, but,
Right,
like,
right, right.
but yeah,
Nah,
like,
it's all of that. It was definitely life. I just recently spoke about this. Well, you know, let's take so we get to Chief, and I shared kind of like this other side of the journey where from my grass, it seemed like everyone else was in greener grass because they
mm,
maybe had label support or that type of stuff. And some of them I didn't realize looked at me like, well, you have control over what you want to do and can do.
mm,
But I think what people forget is that any of these situations, like, well, a contract for work, and a contract for work may affect your output, right? You might sign a deal and it's for like 5 albums, right? So that
yeah.
artist puts out 5 albums and he's like, wow, he put out 5 albums. Like, yeah, well, he has to put out 5 albums. You know, it doesn't mean they're
Right.
not great, but that was part of it was built in to the process, right? And I my dreams in hip hop were also to become part of the like canon of greatness, you know, and at least privately, that was the pressure. I wanted to make things that people could connect to and that were great and that made impact in some way or to someone. And you put out, you know, now it's like, now you have to think about all the ways to deliver that. And when you're doing it independently for real or like by yourself or with homespun support, it's just a longer process. It's not in the creation so much as so it's like how to deliver it. You know, when Chief came out, I had this great opportunity to be on Boiler Room. And I feel like I was in Boiler Room like January of that year, right? The album came out in September, right? From a label standpoint, maybe the album would have came out February or right after the Boiler Room to capitalize on the this and the that and the this. But I didn't have at the time what felt like the ability to do it all like that. You know what I'm saying? At the same time, what it did allow me to do is, it's funny because the industry is leaning to this now, is disperse my project or like really ring out to show you, like, because we're all doing this anyway. Did you even really look at it when you first saw it? Probably not. But I built something with so many components. It's all good. I could give you breadcrumbs through multiple portions of the year, kind of a deal, right? Like the same chef that showed up for Easter showed up for Thanksgiving, you know? And you're just like, oh, okay. And so yeah, so you know, Chief showed me about scale and like what it really required to delegate that or participate in that type of undertaking independently. Lemonade wasn't intended to be anything but just like a tape, almost like a mixtape. We called it a tape, you know, and we made that with no plans, no intentions or whatever, but whatever it captured went off for me at the time, particularly my relationship artistically with Iman Omari then, you know, so that went off. And so it's like, okay, well, now there's this. So I focused on that. There were a lot of songs that didn't make it onto Lemonade, right? Those were the songs that started Private Stock. Private Stock wasn't even intended to be an album. It was about to be just B-sides for Lemonade. That's even why it's called Private Stock. It's like the special batch, the select batch of Lemonade, which is why Lemonade is even referenced, right? But when I started falling, so it's like, okay, there's these songs that were supposed to be on Lemonade or didn't make it onto Lemonade that are on that are this thing, this B-sides project. And it started to become its own thing, right? And I was in a different space now. I was in a new city and I had more experience in how to get closer to the scale of what I wanted to do, but I also had more resources. I had money. At that time now, I was like, I had stacked, I had did some maneuvers and I was like, I have control. I'm gonna do what I want. And that space also allowed me to be like, I could take as long as I want. You know what I mean? Like these dates that I made up in my head, who were they for? They were for me. I'm putting myself, giving my anxiety. I was like, it's gonna happen when it's happening. Like I did a short film for Private Stock that not everyone saw. It's one of the visuals for a song called Renaissance. And I went to Panama and filmed that and held on to those visuals because I realized very affirmatively that like, yo, I'm not making like music videos to just piss away off YouTube. That's not befitting to like the effort and what's going into it, the work that's going into it. So my collaborator, a filmmaker named Vashni Corinne and myself, we went to Panama and we filmed that. And I sat on that. I was like, nah, this ain't going on YouTube as a music video. And I'm so glad I did. It was painful at the time to not know what to do. But then now during quarantine, now it's in film festivals, multiple film festivals. You know what I mean? So I still haven't put it out on YouTube and maybe I will, you know. But that's what I started doing with the drawing out of my projects. So I did that with Private Stock between 2018 and 2019. And I was already gearing up for like what I thought the next album was going to be. And then fatherhood hit and quarantine hit and this second wind of Private Stock with the vinyl and some of this unreleased content like the film festival or the El Sol video that didn't come out till 2 years later, but I had it. It wasn't like I went and just made a new video. I had all of these short films already for Private Stock that I financed and wrote. You know what I'm saying? So so that's what I did. But in that 2020 window onward, it was kind of like that's where things got disrupted for me. And I wasn't sure if I was in line with what was expected of the artist in this framework and what it was becoming and the pace that was expected for you to create. And it's not like you're creating just to get bread or to try to get some, where the wage is like, it just didn't, it wasn't mathing to me emotionally and like spiritually. And I didn't feel well about this shit. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I had to go through all of that and then recognize, like, nah, I'm on some different shit. I'm not on that timeline. I'm on this timeline, and that's okay. So the record itself, Different Type Time, was actually done in 2022. There would have only been a 2-year gap. But then it was like, all right, well, where does this live? You
Yeah.
know? And then that became the dialogue with Backwoodz. And we were going to drop it in 2023. And it just made more sense to wait. And I was with that. And I
Yeah.
trust Woods' judgment. You know what I'm saying? So now
Right.
here we are, you know. But that's what that time between was about. And you know, even when I put out Lemonade Redux, I think in its delivery, people thought it was just like a deluxe, like I just dusted off Lemonade and threw a couple remixes on there, and that's couldn't be
Yeah.
further from the case. I took an EP and made it an LP. Like there's a whole nother EP's worth of songs that were again from this batch of songs that I continue to make with Iman
Right.
Omari and Quelle, and that is what Lemonade Redux was, you know. So, and that, you know, I seen some fans going in on Reddit about, you know, the price of Different Type Time and
Yeah, you were
how,
talking about that last
yeah,
night.
yeah, and about, you know,
Yeah.
about you know, how Quelle and I promised that we weren't going to put Black Cottonwood on streaming, and how 6 months later we did, and that wasn't even true. We waited a full year. You know what I'm saying? After making it direct to vinyl, after doing the things that everyone's doing now, right? We
Yeah.
made it direct to fan from my website, and then we did vinyl direct to those who purchased it. We waited a year. Think about how many emails we got also from people who already purchased the project but now wanted the ease of listening. We didn't just randomly, it's not like we're getting this major payout for it being on streaming after the fact. You see what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
of
So that's
course.
why I was
Yeah.
like, people don't really understand what it is we doing here. You know what I mean? But yeah, you know, with Lemonade Redux, those songs are still not on streaming. You know, the additional songs on Lemonade Redux are not on streaming. You have to purchase the digital download, or you have to get the cassette that you know the digital download can come with. And there's like 4 of those left. So now good luck. You know what I'm saying? And I
Right,
kept it
man.
like that. In theory, I want to put them up, but I'm like, nah, maybe those can hold. And those are some of my favorite songs. You know, so that's where those time gaps fall in line. But it wasn't about stopping creating for sure. You know.
Right. Yeah, no, like I think just like value and patience are two things that you put a lot of stock into value and patience and control. Like
Mhm.
those three things are like like that's like I personally don't have a problem with people charging whatever they want for whatever they do. Like you should be able to get however much money you think you deserve. And like especially like people are willing to pay it. Like they'd be, like I'm sure they'd be willing to pay it even if it wasn't affiliated with Backwoodz. Like
Yeah, I mean, it's my
like that
first
speaks
label, and I spoke to that too. You know, this
right.
in this juncture too, it supports Backwoodz as well. Like it's not, you know,
Right.
it's not like Backwoodz is
Like
like doing me a big favor. Like this is part of the whole thing, and why it's also like a really beautiful alignment of what Woods is doing with his platform that he's building, like what he's put 20 years into building. You know
right.
what I'm
20 years, bro.
what I'm saying, and like
Like
people are not really seeing the big picture. Like I'm like, are we really talking about this right now? Yeah, y'all bringing up, you know, it was just really. I was like, maybe it's not for you then, because you're missing the point entirely, and that's okay. You could catch up later, but catching up later means private stock being sold on Discogs for $400. That's what's
yeah,
that's cool, because I make art, and in this climate, art can appreciate in value, and I understand that. But it ain't an NFT. Not that I want it to be, but it's not like I'm getting kickbacks when it goes up in value either.
of
But
course.
if
Yeah.
people decided, you know what, I'm gonna sell this shit off, I listened to it enough time, and that's their prerogative. So do we do that with paintings, or do you leave the painting in your estate?
Mhm.
You see what I'm saying? It's kind of like, what conversations are we really having, yo, about this? Because that vinyl is a physical recording. My voice is actually on there.
Yeah.
You know, a fucking diamond tip needle had to etch my carbon, my melanated ass voice with a piece of carbon, etches that shit into another piece of carbon, yo. The petroleum that shit is on. That's straight. Come on. So what are people really talking about? Anyway,
Nah, I get it, bro.
Like,
I
talk
get
about
it.
it.
It's a you know, like it's a value thing, and it's just, you know, like it speaks to what you think you're worth and what you think you deserve. And you know, like, yeah, you know, like it's not like you know, like it's not like you're charging people a crazy amount of money. Like $70 is expensive, sure, but
Also
like
doing it. I was
it's
also.
not
It
like,
ain't even about.
yeah,
Yeah, I did it.
no,
I also did it because it's 7.
yeah,
No, I mean like because it's the number 7. Like not even like the amount of money or coins or shekels. Like not even like because the numerology is like 7, nigga. Like that's it.
yeah,
Because the album was gonna come out last week on the 12th, and we pushed it back 1 week, so it was gonna come out on 7. You know what I mean? It was gonna come out.
yeah,
So I'm like, it's all good, y'all. I'm so there with it. That's part of it. You know
yeah,
what I mean? That's it. It could have been $7, whatever, but nah, there is a magnitude to it. So it was 70, but it's 7. That's the numbers on that. That's what it's about. You buying divine. That's what 7 is. You buying God. You can't purchase God direct. So you take the body of Christ, right? You eat some crackers,
yeah.
right? So these is the fucking crackers, man.
So,
It's that crack.
cool, bro. Yeah, like like I got no problem with that. Like
Yeah.
that's beautiful. I love to hear that. And you know, like people will come around when they come around,
Or they won't. It's all good.
if or they won't. Yeah, but you know, like just to like speak about the project itself. You know, like having it done, and I mean, like, yeah, of course, you know, like you had it mostly, if not fully done, before you even brought it to the label. You know, like why or no, I was gonna ask why was now the time to put it out, but you already explained all of that. You already answered my question before I even asked it. But I guess why was Backwoodz the place to put it out?
Natural fit. It was kind of like that energy I talked about with Quelle. The
Yeah,
fans, or not fans, I can't say fans. The people on Twitter, when I posed the question, that was one of the labels that came up most mentioned. It was
yeah,
others, but you know, we're in a funny era where like, how do you make contact with a label these days? You could be an artist with a footprint, and it's like, what are you sliding in DMs? Try like it's just like
yeah,
it's not a comfortable space, and the dialogue with Backwoodz was immediate. It was kind of like, oh yeah, and I have real respect for what Woods and his team is building, right?
yeah, man.
So it was like, oh, all right. And it retuned me too to what they were doing to pay attention again. You know, like, nah, this is where I'm gonna send my kid to school. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah.
nah, fuck with that. Fuck with what's going on over here. You know,
So,
and I want and Woods, we had key conversations, man. He told me what he wanted the energy of this to be like. You know, I saw that he cared about the releases he was making. I came in around and or was being, I guess, introduced to the audience right around when Sharif's project dropped. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, I felt like I saw a little bit of a piece of the bigger picture, and I was like, nah, this is something that I'm comfortable being a part of.
yeah, man. It's I mean, you know, like I've once again talked about it a bunch on here, but I've known Woods and Elucid since probably like 2018, and just like seeing them grow and you know having the opportunity to put that piece together I did last year about the label and shit, and
Mm-hmm.
just like, you know, like just like getting the whole story or getting as much of the story as we could fit onto the page, but like just like I don't know, like their whole thing is incredible. I'm just a fan of the music and of the ethos, and and you know, like he's so particular, and but like he's so like he cares a
Mm-hmm.
ton about like not just like the art, but like the people making the art, and you can
Yeah,
tell in the
yeah.
way that he like picks the stuff out. Like he sent me your album like after
Mm-hmm.
you did Funny Enough, and he was just like, I can't say enough great about this, you know. Like it's crazy just to think about how people perceive him based on like the stuff he raps about, and just like the
Right,
type of person he is, you know. Like
right, right. To
he's
me,
like,
they're in alignment though. I do see there's an ethos in what he raps about, and you know the person if you're fortunate enough to encounter, you know. But
yeah,
even if it wasn't on a personal level, it seeps from what also is being built too, right? Because
yeah,
a person in his shoes doesn't necessarily have to turn around and invest in the careers of others. Plainly
yeah,
put. what I'm saying? And but also to do it with taste is like is fire. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
A lot
bro.
of people don't have like taste. Like
Oh,
we talk about
and yeah,
taste makers, gatekeepers, like
yeah,
that's good taste is rarer than we think it is.
yeah. You can't teach taste. That's the
Nah,
thing.
yeah, you
Like
can't teach taste. Well
you're
said, yo.
you're born with that shit, man. Like you just it's just the divining rod. Like if you don't
Mm-hmm.
have it, if you don't got it, you don't got it.
Yeah,
You know. And I mean, like it should go without saying, but I'll say it anyway. Like that's this album, like you obviously have taste, and this album is very tasteful in that way, like just kind of living with it like I have over the course of the past like month, really, or however long it's been. Like I said, just so much detail, so much humor, so much like once again, like you were saying before, like these are I feel like I've been saying this quite a bit recently just about like people in general, but like I love a project that's just like it feels like vignettes of a person's life just kind of like set to like the musical soundtrack of a movie, more or less, like that's what this feels like to me, like even down to the cover, just like the image of you, like image of you in a robe, just like in the recliner on the side on the corner, like that's such an icon, like that's such a cool, interesting image, and like I see so much of that. And
Shout
just
out
like here,
35 millimeter gold, yo, by the way, for trusting me for my quirky moment, you know what I'm saying? But
oh, that's tight.
yeah, beautifully talented, photographer. So help me execute that.
Oh, that's dope. And like just like the little details and moments I pick out, like you talking about you wanting like Big's money green leather sofa, and just like having the two houseless gentlemen on the different songs on this project. Why am I already forgetting which songs
Oh,
they're on?
one got his own song, "Baby I'm
Yeah,
Home."
right. It's
That
Baby
one,
I'm Home. There we go.
and the other
Yeah,
one is with me on "Told You." That for show
right,
produced. Yeah, he for show is based out of Dallas, and he was with me when that unhoused man approached me. He was there.
right.
You know what I'm saying? That's on
Yeah.
camera. So that's how real it. And those encounters happened on the same day, even though I was in two different cities. I was in
Right.
Detroit earlier that day, and then the second gentleman was in Dallas that evening. And I was like, I don't know what's in the energy right now. I'm in a different time zone. That like it was just part. It was just yeah. They are vignetted moments. Those moments really did happen. There's people and places. On Lazarus, I'm like, they took the nose off the Sphinx. The Jakes tried to take my brother Pharaoh Tooth, Lazarus. That really happened. I got a brother Pharaoh. Shout outs to Pharaoh Z, Faro Pharaoh. You know what I'm saying? But the police, essentially accosted him, in Cleveland, right? And tried to take his smile away. You know what I mean? And cracked his tooth. So to me, that was like, oh, that's they are real moments.
Yeah, like like even down to you talking about the Israelites on
I missed them.
yeah,
Yeah, yo.
yeah,
That's
no,
that's yeah. That drops
yeah,
tomorrow.
yeah, nah, like that was because I mean, like I have a lot of complicated feelings about Hebrew Israelites for a lot
Yeah,
of
I'm
reasons.
sure we do. A bunch of us. But you
Yeah.
seen them though. But you seen
Oh,
them
I've
in your
seen
hood.
them.
You
Oh,
seen them
I've
in your
seen
hood.
them.
You seen them. And you know what they
I'm
wasn't? Scared. That's what that's what they weren't. They
oh my
wasn't,
God.
they wasn't scared.
But
They wasn't scared, yo. They
it
wasn't scared.
right. But the thing about it that like once again it goes back to earlier, it's just like that's real, like that
Mm-hmm.
exists. Like there's that around us, and I think like once again, very complicated feelings, especially with everything going on right now.
Yeah.
Obviously free Palestine, fuck
Yeah,
Zionism,
and
all
it's
that
crazy
good
because
shit.
I made that song and had no idea that this. I mean, granted, these conflicts have been going on for decades, but I
Right,
had no
yeah,
idea when I recorded that song that it would be released in this terrain. Like
right.
it just is, and that's how the music goes. Sometimes where like it's on a different timeline than um how it plays out here, right? So
Yeah, nah. Yeah. It's never on schedule but always on time, you know?
Right.
Like
Exactly.
it's so but you know, like, but like, to bring all of this home, there's so many different aspects of, like, to me this project feels so this might be the most raw thing I've ever heard you do. Like, it feels like the most raw. It feels like the most personal. It feels like you kind of like reckoning with yourself on a few occasions here. Like, it'll go from something like Doodoo Damien, where you're telling this like I don't have that specific story, but there's like, I got like at least 2 or 3 homies who, like, we know them, like, we don't like there's a couple people who, like, we call certain things just because of like a thing that happened, you know? I get it, you know, like lifelong friends who I just like, I know, like, oh, you did X, Y, you know, like that's just how it goes. But, you know, you go from that to, you know, just like reckoning with yourself and your place in the world and your places, you know, and, you know, your stance as like a father and a, you know, a musician and all this other shit. You know, like, you strike me, I mean, like, clearly you take pride in everything you do, like, but like, this to me is like, I feel like you really opened yourself up in some ways on this that you haven't before. So like, was that difficult to kind of do on here for you? Or
I guess I didn't know I was doing that as much as that was what was being required of me to get back in touch of why I created these things in the first place, and its original source point on what moved me to want to create and put things out there and connect. And through that process, because like I said, it wasn't feeling good and it wasn't making sense, and I had to kind of get back into a space of like, almost like, what had me showing up at the dugout? You know what I'm saying? What had me, you know, that type of shit. What made me gamble on a plane ticket to link Quelle, you know, and start, you know, reconnecting with what was freeing about it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I guess some of that, where I could not care about, like, nah, it was like, nah, this is honest. I can be honest here and start getting honest with myself and like the collaborators that allowed me to have palettes to paint with, you know what I'm saying? And be like, yo, so even in making the project, the visuals, a lot of them are done in the city where I recorded the song, or maybe where the producer was from. That's kind of how some of that started shaping up.
And
Like,
that's special.
you know, like Wino Willie, that was our first. He lives in New Orleans, but he's from the East Coast like me. And you know, it's like we want to connect, and I watch him make dope beats every day. Like, and it didn't hit that moment. And he sends me beats while I'm in this space. And I was in Oakland. I put myself on residency, and that the first joint we did, All Things Considered, just kind of literally just flew out of me, and I recorded it in the Bay. But now I'm in this new process of like photography and self-portrait time lapses and just documenting in that way. And with my collaborator, shout outs to Upendo, who was helping me film this on, coming with me in a lot of these stops on this journey. And I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go to Wino Willie's city. I ain't been to Philly in a while. I'm gonna go to his city and record there, because that's part of what's informing him. You know what I'm saying? And I'm gonna make it connect again, like in the real time, in the art, and in the ritual of the art too. So I hit him up because, like I said, we was like passing ships a lot. And after I recorded the joint, just so it not to even add on to that, this ain't just a, you know, you flying me in music and I'm taking advantage of what you contributing. Like, yo, he's a father too. He's a husband too. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, yo, I'm about to go to your city and film this. What places be resonating to you?
Right.
And he was like, yo, you know, it's funny you say that. There's a mural of my grandmother in the hood over by such and such and such. I was like, that, say less. So I went to Philly, and in a lot of the visuals that people are going to see coming out from different time, I'm in people's neighborhoods. I'm in places where people like, nah, you're not supposed to go there. And I'm in there. You know what I'm saying? I'm in there. And like the all things considered visual, when it comes out, or however I'm gonna disperse that, the area I'm in is only addicts, and it's notoriously profiled on YouTube, right? Hipsters doing walking tours or people having commentary.
Hood
But in
vlogs
this,
and all that
but
shit.
me and Quelle are there filming, and the way we're filming it, you can't tell that that's what they are. There's no like, nah, it just is. It just is, because I'm standing still. and this is where I'm at. You know what I'm saying? And then we went over by where Wino Willie's grandmother's mural is, and time passes, but the mural remains the same, right? So that's my nod to him. So now that put it in the art. It's in the ether now. It's in the Akashic now. That's gonna outlive us all. And now his grandmother's in that too now. You know what I'm saying? We put her in the digital like that. So that's how I was moving, bro. Like, so it just brought me all around different cities. And because of that, that's how you got the other two only rap features on the album. Those two unhoused men whose names I don't have anymore, you know. But if I wasn't doing this process or making the album this way, I wouldn't have had those moments. Because that's why I was even in Detroit and Dallas in the same fucking day, you know. So
yeah, man.
yeah, so that's how real it was.
You know, and like that's how real this album is, you know. Like, once again, this is like, I love how you put it, just you know, like, I'm standing still and I'm just, and like everything is just kind of flowing through me, and I'm like channeling, you know, like life, you know. It's like all these different things. Like, I could sit here and name things you dropped all day, but like, yeah, I'm so interested to see what other, like, I can't wait to hear what other people think about this project, because I know this is going to be like, this seems like one that's going to be talked about a lot,
I
you know,
hope
like,
so,
even,
man. I hope so. I really do, man.
yeah, like, I think everyone who listens to this, and everyone who, you know, gets the opportunity to sit with you like I have and like talk about it, like, people who take the time to listen to this are gonna, like, they're gonna walk away with some stuff, you know. And
Yeah,
I like,
man.
and like, I'm excited to see where those conversations lead, because this is once again, you know, like, in line with the Backwoodz ethos, and with yours too, you know. Like, I'll never forget, there was a when I spoke to Willie Green for that piece, the one thing he told, or he told me so much that stuck with me, but the one thing that I always come back to is like, I want you to have a physical reaction when you hear a Backwoodz record, you know. Like, this isn't something that you can just like throw on while you do dishes, or like while your mind is like, well, like 40% of your brain is occupied with like cleaning the crib or whatever. Like, you got to sit with this and like devote all your, you know, like, it just demands close listening in a
You
way
got to be
that,
here with me. You got to be here
right,
with me, yo. You
you
know what I'm
know, like
saying?
it,
Yeah.
and that's, and you know, like, I appreciate you wanting to do it that way, and like wanting to draw people's attention in a way that's, once again, we're going to go back to intention, you know. Like, there's a lot of intention with how you do this, and I'll just be really interested to see. I mean, like, I think this shit's piff, but like, I'll be really interested to see what other people think as the year goes on, and as the release starts to disseminate and all that.
Yeah, and you know, I'm doing a lot of things that are like the opposite of what they're shopping right now. Seeing a viral clip recently of some young woman talking about like, this is not the era to drop no 20-track mixtape, like some shit like that. I'm like, whoops, whoops. You know,
Yeah.
here go my 21 track offering, and 21 visuals too. You know,
Right.
we about to put out the DVD, different type time. You know, so it's, you know, I want it to be like, yeah, okay, you thought, okay, you heard that. I now see for real, so that these conversations can get opened up, and now we see like what's really going into all of this, and not just me and my album, but like all of these kind of works, you know,
Yeah.
that I know, you know, Lucid is a deep thinker, you know what I'm saying, like, um, you know, anyway, you know, that's definitely the intention, and hopefully people allow themselves to be on a different type time, to step away from this other shit that's very draining. It's not, doesn't offer us much. Like we think it is, but when we're binging, like we're being sucked. You know what I'm saying? No diddy. You know what I mean? So that, yeah, I just that's what that would be my goal. My goal and my aspiration for people to sit with it like that, so that we are coming back now. You know, what's when it's dropping, April 19th. Yeah, I'm waiting for like July. I'm waiting for July when I'm like, all right, so y'all thought, okay, well, did you see this is what Can't Leave It Alone. Here's the visual.
Yeah.
Here's what 50 bags really, this is what we really thought when we dropped 50 bags. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Because it took everything in my mama not to just drop 50 bags. Like, fuck this whole record, man. That's my entry point to working with Child Actor. Shout outs to Child Actor.
Yeah. Shout out to Child Actor.
We have a whole album in tow, you know, that's coming too.
Ready for that.
And if I have it my way, it's going to come out this year as well. So
Hell
now it's
yeah.
going to be like, oh, okay, Cav dropped this record and then he waited and just, I was like, all right, what about this year? I have a record with Raz Fresco.
I saw you talking about that. Yeah. Yeah.
So, and it's a powerful record, man. And, mind you, Raz is prolific. He's prolific. This is a brother, you put him in the studio in a week, he'll come out with 2 albums. You know what I mean? And none of it is like fodder. It'll all be quality. It'll all be real raps. You know what I'm saying? But in addition to that, the project we did together is one of the moments, yo. Like where we taking it and like the framework of where we coming from, what it's about. Like I'm hoping heads are willing to go there with us, when we form in that space.
Right.
So,
And then on top of that, you're about to go on tour with Rory, like in like not even 3 weeks, So like that, and that's gonna be wild. And like he just put out this great project, like
he's prolific, man. He's prolific, yo.
He's
you know what I'm
crazy with
saying?
it.
He's prolific. So, I feel really great, like a track like, and I feel really honored to be in these spaces and amongst people who are creating with this type of intention. The tour got booked before anyone even knew the release date. So this was like, again, just one of those that synced up. I felt honored that, him and his team, that I was even on their radar in that way, because I know they map these things out intentionally. So I go on tour. I come to New York first to do something special that will be announced soon, and then I do a listening and screening in Brooklyn, and then I go kick off the tour with Rory, and then that bleeds right into the beginning of my tour with Quelle in Denmark that starts at the end of May.
Wait a minute, y'all! Wait! You're touring with Quelle in Denmark?
Yeah, we just announced the first 4 dates recently.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I did see that.
We do Detroit, Chicago, Tampa, and Atlanta.
Let me
and pending. I think there's some other dates pending.
I was gonna say, let me know when y'all come to New York. I haven't seen Denmark do his thing in years. I haven't seen Denmark in years, bro. Shout out.
Me neither. I hadn't seen him in a while, and he did the Orlando show with me and Armand Hammer.
Yeah.
And it was, I think that was a big part of why we're doing this now. You know what I'm saying? And and also, I don't know if I could say, I mean, by the time this comes out, it'll be known, but Quelle has Maestro, Death Tape 2. So that's coming. Like it's like pretty damn near done, and it prominently features Denmark. You know what I'm saying? Like, man. Yeah, it like centers Denmark essentially in a lot of ways. So there's a lot coming down the pipeline that I'm excited about.
That's beautiful, bro. Yeah, and I just want to say shout out to Denmark. That's my homie. We've been tight for years. I haven't seen him since he moved. Since they moved out, but like that's.
He's one of my favorite rappers, yo. Straight up, bro.
He's incredible. I was just running Martin Luther Dream back not too long ago, and I've been meaning to go back to cult classics. Yeah, just like that, like Denmark's incredible. Been a fan of his for years. Love that guy. But man, I feel like we could go for like another 3 hours, bro. This has been great, but I
appreciate you, man.
No, of course, but to wrap it all up, Cav, if your life was a movie, what would it be about?
If my life was a movie, it would be about a legendary adventure that had large societal implications.
Cool.
Yeah, like that.
And people would be leaving it liable to shoot.
And people would be leaving liable to shoot, or like immediately go free Palestine or some crazy shit. Shoot the right way, the right way, like all shoot in the same direction or something.
Right.
You know what I mean? That would be the ultimate.
Leave on some ceasefire now type shit. Yeah, hell yeah.
Real, like something. I don't know. But
I love that.
I'm still writing that. one.
Hell yeah. I mean, like we said it before, like all your shits are all your shits are scripts. And I just want to say thank you, man. Like I said, just like as someone who's been, like tapped in for a while, and like getting the chance to meet you has been great, and just like building and having like while I was making my questions for this, I knew this is going to be like, and like re-listening to the album, I was like, this is going to be a special one. I can feel it,
man.
because it just like, I don't know, just like I could just tell that it was going to be a fun, like deep, thoughtful, raw, honest one, and it was all of that. So just like thank you for taking the time to be here, and just like thank you for the work, man. It's
man.
like,
thank you. You're doing the work too, and it's key, because like it's key to know that they're listeners, and it's key to know that there are ambassadors, and like stewards of the culture, archivers of the culture. It's more than just critique, right? Like you're an author now. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like it's important that we also tell our own story. So I appreciate you as well. Thank you, G.
Nah, of course. Yeah, like, and yeah, that means so much. Thank you. Like, it's weird to even people tell me I'm an author, and I'm like, yeah, I guess I am. Huh?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
that shit is bugged, man. And I'm hoping. I feel like I've said this before, but if I didn't, we're gonna do physicals of the book, but I'm gonna be doing a bunch more writing for it. So like maybe near the end of the year, we're gonna do like a second edition of the book, and there will be, like, for everybody asking, I know a lot of people have been asking, there will be physical copies at some
physical
point.
books. I'm into that for sure. That would be great. So please keep me in the loop when that drops.
Oh, I got you, man. Yeah, no, like hopefully soon, Austin and I are gonna start. We're gonna start building probably like at the end of May. So
Okay.
hopefully sometime at the end of this year, the beginning of 2025. So we'll see. But thank you, bro. Like, this was, absolutely. Thanks for listening. Shout out to y'all for making it this far. And shout out to all the Black people listening too, because y'all really impeccable. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and tell a friend to come through next time. 1.